장주 벌도 단내 잡고 다게 진소는 예외 소남제 로라 벤제 상제 주버죠 상제 주동 소지 주남나 장주 벌도 단내 잡고 제 다게 진소 예외 소남 로라 벤제 상제 주버죠 동년이 순도 저거는 제였습니다. 관심 된 쪽에 전화 너무 되네. 소원도 조선은 로저 장정 송라고 나도 메게 상담을 줘. 저기 이외도 연구가 현재 신이 교나 차체
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, I have become a Buddha, in order to benefit all sentient beings.
What is between difference between Buddha and Buddhahood? In the translation, there is a Buddhahood, isn't it?
Yes, that's great.
What's the differences? Yeah, cheers.
Buddha is the state, right?
Well, Buddhahood is the state.
The state.
Okay, state. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, thank you. Okay, now 47. Before 47. Daddy, because Dian doesn't never chumudo. Oh, Pasani love you, Mission, Tingumido, Diana, Kitchishudi. Shibubogi, Annie Dorji Jinzin Choi, something I do over Chas, Annie Dinarone. I do come down till ya. Annie Tanda to den you take big Javad Narolia. Annie Demba, my dear, says to. That did Denba said the power of the Tatana den. Tembusubi Gijere. Jazangata, not of Chinjusim Gipen, Ani Serba, Ani Lavado Chigi, Diva Shaba, Ani Chigi, Ranzugi, that Chigi, Chinjubi Simgi, Keda Kundos, Solomon, which you call it Tony, Anita dessert the Chigita, Lurmatan what Chigita, did that was my Jabna Dumas, say Simna Rolla. Amjad Budi Katuli also do that the did type any that Tabjet Temple Panyati. That Amjad Temple say the Todi any Jig Temple dance doing on the Kangba Temple down Nashin Kejamare did Temple say the Duomevach de go your Tamjet Duomeva. Tamjet Duomeva non Yakshu the Karaduslana, Ding Hechore said the 야고들에 땜부 요마를 디 탐전안에 탐제 땜쉐디 다 마제들이 마제 세류점배 고 지단에 고 투연인가 요래 베베기 치기 나로라 지단에 마제의 방자를 숨요 양데 마제 공부를 숨고요 봐 세상에 디 마제당 남규 마제세 팅이라 인지민지 고 개발듯이 하고에 배개지 뭐라도 봐. 남중아 제스도 뇽모비 샤만도 저체 아니 디 지기 가서 딜레 땡지 아니 말아 내가 대화 용도 아니 딩 얘기 채워래 딩말 녀래 딩말 오래세 금진티 금진 양타바디 그도 누구도 패전 누구 말이 내가 야가지 쉐베까블라 디 녀래세 디 누구 말이 마룬와당 아니 지기 고심 그래서래 수수그 눈주 수수그 견 아니 타바도 장다 신이가 나로네 아니 장된 보신 루비아라 아니 시티 예세기 쓰기 수지 뭐 쉬면 되겠다 다 전주 선배기 단다데 하바도 전주 선배기 냠렘바지기 ngaje sidu zembe nga chanju semba tati nal yabu shujo tanda tulin choyo chawe da nalo le ya ngaje temba chebe kala nga chanju semba sije kodo gomsha yor nga chanju sembe lamla shugin sije yo mare nga chanju semba sije kodo joyor kiran zu shugo de tuzu chung siya di yabu shibuji yor ka jansana sozo chanju semba cha yor mare nga chanju semba yin sam dewi na degi rangshingi chanju semba ki 제 나로래 되게 나로 패밀리 나로래 취베 있나 그 랑신기 아니 뽑아 실리그로 봐 땅아 디디 공부했어 답에 배나 사면이 자자 셰비는 사면 단다 그게 잉글랜드 대요래 그게 잉글랜드야 로열 패밀리요 안디나로네 배 지금 다치게 가서 우리 제세 이내를 제베 세모 이내를 군한조 지금 미규만 내신지 지금 내가지 제가 하버들이야 야 semnan ngendi chena 지금 말해 아 미마 규만 내신기 제베이나 엔 맞아 로열 패밀리야 민체 이런 거 세지 어디 지금 이모도 와 대나신 그 전주 선버도 있네요 랑기 디데지기 제베이나 아니 신경 된다고 배 가르쳐 그래 꿀론 선반 넘버 답에 돈에 깔려 잡히고 망고지 신경 된도 채도 있어야 되게 신제 버전 봐 로디 랑제 버전 비기 좀진지기 플라단 얘기 내가 신부 시부지 유도 어디 인도선 들려야 아니 마디 지금에 딩아제디 아 되게 마치게 마치 드링아 지금에 있으니 그때 아제세 드리가 다디고 어den으로야 디 워더를 시가 디 신기 맞춰봐 녀치긴스 신기 레디 녀치긴스 아니 신기 근데 치로 지금에도 근데 요래 님부 요래 신기 쿠란주 원에서는 대화 대베체도 대외 두딘데 두부르디 그래서 두로 지금에도 다 깨요 말은 이거 디 두버체지 니 콘솔이야 짐버치기 콘솔을 남템버치기 오심슈디니 끼기도 와 진주 생각이 어디지게 탐저 템포 용야 돼 야버도 아니 이 디체샤와 나 전주 선반 디체와 세디 다디 도당 아니 마당 차상만로리야 넘기 쉽지 그래 세상가디 아줌마 손에 단데딘데디 타면바 라랑기 꽤뭐 보진 거야 거야기 년가 여벌라 민들이 여나 아니 세기 마디 믹스 투모임비 체주지 검제네 대당 체주 대당 된바 체주 대당 체주 대 톰되기 가상에 세 아디 성로야 코스 디 가즈 내가 숙처럼 줘 봐야나야 아니 디 님부 투모임비 어디 무슨 먼저 남기 님부 스틸을 연구해 봐 다음에 다음에 또 비셔럽디 당신이 님부인 소리 되시 제상가 다음에 보고 뭐래 세트점배 디 다음에 보고 뭐야지 다기 운에 돼 봐 먼저 그 nenjoma yinere 고민도 좀 okay, they're back now. 달래 송에. 야. 다 배전 망타셔. 파 줄수 있게 서리. 아.
Rinpoche, the chick the go analogy the line chick go bachane any the sosugi kase janchu sembaden zu na janchu sembe yimba joshi the mi tamawa den zugi kase later nyumongi wongi chene any konzugi kare konsuki kandas chegdus chanandigi tiksorons the tamawa gan gansa benzuki nagyagi getandigi chinan somore in a discourse sumendo.
제가 타면바 좀땅 타면바서 타를 먹고 말한 란주 남셔 준도
Yeah.
나세 좀 전에 그두고도 평할 때 랍스마스 아니 디 랍초고 말스 세좀 전에 먹고 그도 봐 남주 나 송얘기 쳐도 나 송부 송배 된다 좀 뭐지 타면바 좀 그단티 디 가르친치나 디그마데 디 얘기 딜레 얘기 딜레 그런 데 가와치 초고를 신경 손으로다 얘기 좀 전에 상만 딜레냐로 봐 제가 다 단다 전주 선배기 금전으로 난도를 배 가가지고 그래서 금전도 상말로 신기 편도 랑 템부스에 치도록 남주 신 카드자에 된다라 랑 템부 검den이라고 지라도 와
맞아요.
어디 두
맞아.
어디 두시나
No. And so here, looking before we start on verse 47, I want to look back a little bit to the second two lines. I'll just read them. The second two lines of the 46th verse. The last two lines of the 46th verse, where it reads, having undertaken the wholesome in the manner of Vajradrava, I should then proceed to acquaint myself with confidence. So I just wanted this contains a very important point that I just wanted to go back on, because I'm not sure that I mentioned it in the previous teaching. And it's this sense of, in Thupten Chögyal Drapa's commentary, he uses as well as this word, kind of pride or confidence, he also uses the word Demba in Tibetan, stable, kind of stability or stableness, steadfastness, as it's sometimes translated. And what this is sort of referring back to, it's also a sense of what is it that is stabilized, and we also, we've gone through the text where we have the benefits of developing bodhicitta and the cultivating the awakening mind, and topics such as laying open our negative actions, confessing our negative actions, patience, etc. And we've gone through the advantages and disadvantages of holding on to those practices and engaging in those practices and not letting go of them. But also what is the kind of stability that I'm thinking of here is like a kind of, in a sense, of a promise that we have made in the past in relation to these other practices. So we need a kind of to stabilize or hold firm, to firm up or stabilize that promise, and not to allow that to weaken and allow us to stray away from those practices. And sort of, I'm not talking about stability in the sense of you build you make a building or a house and that it's built in a strong and stable way. Stable in this sense, or steadfast in this sense, has a meaning within it of unchanging. So we have this this would be the best kind of etymology of how to see this. We have a kind of unchanging promise in relation to all of these practices that we've promised to cultivate, to contemplate and engage in. And there's also this sense that we need to do it ourselves. It has that sense. Now, the other word that's used, kind of pride, or in this case, it's more like a self-confidence. Of course, in Tibetan, it can have a negative connotation of being an object of something to be. It's something to be abandoned on the path. But that's the kind of what we would call afflictive pride. And ordinary beings, which we must count ourselves in as, develop under the sway of the negative emotions, they develop the kind of pride in the kind of wrong way. Their pride is developed in the sense of protecting, used in a way to kind of protect themselves, in the sense that that's all done for self-purpose, that this is mine and that's not, this is not yours, this is mine, you can't do this, you can't take that away from me, you can't do this to me. This whole kind of sense of pride developed in ordinary beings has a kind of, is really under the sway of negative, negative emotions, and it develops in that way, and is a kind of like a fault. Whereas if we look more specifically at the way in which the bodhisattvas practice, there's this kind of pride or sense of self-confidence that I am a bodhisattva. I am a bodhisattva engaged in the path of the awakening path of the bodhisattvas. And it's like having that background, or that kind of sense within us, that it's almost immediate, that the thought will, as a bodhisattva, the thought will immediately come up to them like that. It will naturally feel that they're in the kind of lineage or family of the bodhisattvas and the Mahayana path. And there's also a sense of a natural courage that comes with that, a natural kind of courage or confidence that comes with that. So for instance, Simon is in England at the moment, and in England we still have the royal family, and for instance there be, you know, many different members of the royal family, princes and princesses of different kinds and different levels, but they also would have a sense, for instance, a kind of restraint, that they would not engage in particular ways of action, or they should engage in particular ways of action, and not in other, and definitely not in others, in the sense because they are included within or a member of the royal family. So the bodhisattvas have that kind of natural confidence or sense, driven by a pure motivation, for the welfare of others. So they see self-cherishing as extremely dangerous, and attempt to always avoid being under the sway of this, and not engaging in actions which come under the sway of self-cherishing. And they have a kind of confidence to say that I will engage in these particular actions because they're for the welfare of others, and avoid sort of negative actions which form self-cherishing. And so they're overcome by this pure motivation of welfare for others, and I will do these actions for others. And also they have this sense in which they feel that I will do this, not allowing others, even in some sense, not allowing others to, a sense of performing actions for the welfare of others, that I will do this. And this is a kind of antidote, or is a kind of generosity, the kind of generosity that the bodhisattvas have to show the path to the ordinary beings, and the courage and confidence, which is this kind of strong promise of courage and backed up by courage and confidence, that I am a bodhisattva, and as a bodhisattva, bodhisattvas act like this. And so there's this kind of I mean, there is, it's something, there is of course in the teachings, there is also in tantric teachings, there is a different kind of pride, but this is a kind of pride which feels, in some sense, it feels that not superior, but feeling that I am in some way kind of, as part of this lineage, I'm a kind of special, you have a kind of special feeling of strong kind of this strong sense of being in this kind of special lineage. And the stronger that feeling is, the stronger the antidote is to strongly the antidote is the kind of self-cherishing and lack of wish to help others. Just in the way that when we talk about self-grasping, we talk about the antidote to self-grasping as being the wisdom, understanding emptiness, the nature of reality, and the meditation or cultivation of that wisdom acts as a direct antidote to self-grasping. So in the same way, the cultivation of this sense of also being in this lineage and have it, and this strong promise that I am in this lineage and I should therefore act in this way, is how the Bodhisattvas develop this kind of pride and self-confidence as compared to ordinary people. There.
어디 ranzu 빼져나가려야 아니면 게디케 첨부를 시시 너무 좀 많이봐 ranzu는 최근에 타면바르지 차샤베네 타면베당 아제디 단단하죠 방쟁 아제들이 디기 가주시가 줄내고도 됐다고요 디 가주지 소소를 내고 여봤다 안 디기 묘모 게를 쭉 가주 숙체를 딴 것도나 안 디기 도저기 년부터야 아니 아제야 지금 양답행 아제스네를 그래서 그래 아니 양답 쓰는 뒤로 양답행 아제지기 토네 아니 로마룸 것들을 년부터 투니기 마제지 고매지 고지 가서 그래 상계의 전주선보다 계속 시월하게 아니 야구를 시지 다 집는 다 진송은 어디서 시지 계속 좀 많이 봐 수수 영화를 거르지 니 차장계 좀 전에 타마디 가르치는 것도 저도 나가는 도단데 시토비나 스니디가 저다 등 아직 숙지셔되게 자원으로 용사대 마세 타마디 좀 전에 디고지 디나 아니 로마롱의 용홍소 저거 계사기 자와대 마세도 마디간리나 아니 로 양타바 용수지 규디양 마 양타바 지간 기에 투바이나 안 빠빠 지고 셈리야 방지보다 로를 주부종서로 봐 어디 영상상으로 좀 코토시고 제장가디 아주 다른 부두고요만 남샤 윤도네 아주 딜러부도가 제장가 묘모 탐지 가만히 계속 세두선배니 묘모 탐지 자와디다 묘모 선이자 용서디 등진라는 기도 세티베 개정버렸어야지 디 야부지 모신고제 디 야부 모신고제 신고제스 디 모신 도장이 맞춰버 묘모 선이 자와들로 친지로리 된 계속 세두선배로 친지로 디 등진신이 로 친지로 임버데 모신이 개정버렸다 배자 전부 다디 다디 가고 싶어 디베 신도네 또 지금 카지그래 다디 야고지 하고서는 아니 정신기 콜레니보테 삼로텔이야 아니 다제스네고 마게 비타고지 정신기 리그지 세상을 단다 제수 좀 보시고다기 전주선버들이나요 근데 이제 마게 고민해야 신도는 개침부를 송나지 고 변화 소다르기 동발의 잠배 마지 시초시 양다병하게 전주 심벌 때니 양 전주 심벌 마지 공단 되는 송도 안아 송나로니야 마지 직송도 세상한테 마지티 저도 사람진 타숨강도 스자체 디단디 변화 여러 미치기 아주 먹고 송사bre 세상에 근데 송구요 봐 남자 운동 아니 겨울은 미치인세디 아니 지금 이름 주제는 양아 겨울은 미치인세디 되게 되게 lonely feel 지도스 송구요 봐 lonely Joyous Rinpoche sidu zambe Joyous Rinpoche sidu are 다 뒤에 라바자시 또 됐고 야 뒤에 손주 unmute
there.
아야 양다버디 아 네 이거 차로 봐. 자 그러면 오케이. 또 배신 잉글리시 가셔고 그래. 사면 고도와
태어 고구면도.
말에 사면이랑 고소해.
고스.
그리고
공수 초기 paid 이게 림시의
어디 재산 경고를 붙이게 남셔준도 재산가 겨울을 붙이긴 somebody 연구병 세미나를 믹스 팅금했어. 재산 다 계셔셔야 돼. 아니 좀 된디기 결혼지 시시 좀 된디기 진주 결혼지 시도 안티 니람 수준은 레네 주코디 시라핑도스 가능도 다디기 재산가 핑도 시도 잡에 다디리 재산가 좀 된디기 결혼이 시도 잡에 좀 된디기 결혼 시도 라도 중앙이 소다르기 동발을 잠베 니주도 저도 고바야 부셰도 잠베 아니 니람 나로야 바제 믹스 주도 마제 좀 된디기 진주지 선명 아제디 배 초아 지게 뽑아던 데면서 초아지도 안디 니람 나로를 이내야 차단모습 끼고도 될 카드자도 안디 나신 전주신백이 디유여서 디유여서 세상에 딩아 저기 군중이 힌드마서는 남겨도 저기 맞아 셰토가 제고요서 어디디 양고 소르도 된지 라비 오케이 디지털샤
And so I'd like to sort of just add on the side of this conversation about pride or self-confidence. It's commonly translated as pride, and in the text, pride is identified in many important ways, but in many different ways as well. So, for instance, in the ordinary, common kind of worldly environment, then we think about pride as one of the afflictive emotions, something which is an object to be abandoned, and something which harms us, and also causes is a cause, a very primary cause for the mental afflictions to increase, and so this kind of pride obviously is something which is to be abandoned, and but what we can also perhaps posit is something which could be an opposite antidote to that, and that would be a sense of pure, what we could kind of call pure pride. I'd call it like this: a kind of purified or excellent or purified pride. Let's say purified pride, and this pride would is encouraged in the text by the Buddha himself, by the Bodhisattvas, and here by Shantideva himself. But it's not it's not something that we should just follow just because they've mentioned these things. These are, as I always encourage, these are things which have to be brought back down to the level of our own experience, and not just accepted because great beings have said these things. So the sense of self sort of looking into the situation, it's the sense of self which is a kind of the basic root cause of how then pride arises in this the sense of self that we have then on top of that creates this sense of pride in that self, and then from that stem out the engagement in these kind of minds which engage or wish to engage in unsuitable unconstructive actions. And so if we had but if we had this purer kind of mind, this purer kind of pride, this could act as a counteract to that form of kind of afflicted pride. So from the mental, all of the mental afflictions stem out of the root of self-grasping. And this is, I can't stress how important this is to understand that we need to identify this relationship between self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. And then we also need to, we have to identify or understand that self-grasping is a completely mistaken or almost upside down kind of mind which sees things in an opposite way to which they exist. And we need to identify the self-grasping, and to identify that self-grasping is this thoroughly mistaken kind of mind. And if we're able to, and that it causes the further roots of afflictive emotions and the strong sense of afflicted pride, if we were able to identify the self-grasping and self-grasping as an afflicted mind, as a mistaken mind, then from that, after that, naturally there will be a sense of this kind of more purified pride, which is a kind of pride that the bodhisattvas have, or self-confidence or pride. And so we can see a kind of whole range of different kinds of what we would call pride, and some of them afflicted, some of them pure. For instance, taking individual liberation vows, or taking promising to engage in the conduct of the bodhisattvas. And of course we see this in the tantric context, is this on the basis of for instance taking individual liberation vows, we could have a sense of this purer kind of pride. So for instance, His Holiness says very often in the teachings, he says he very rarely, in his dreams, he very rarely dreams about himself as, and sort of imagining himself, thinking of himself, dreaming himself as the Dalai Lama. He doesn't see that there's much fulfillment in that kind of experience. But what he does say that he often dreams about and himself as, and which he sees great benefit from, is to think of himself, dreaming of himself as a fully ordained, in his dreams, thinking of himself as a fully ordained monk, or a fully ordained monk who is a follower of the Buddha. And this, that he is ordained, and that he has the vows of becoming ordained. And so in his dreams, he feels that this is a very beneficial thing, and therefore in the dream itself, this kind of pride or self-confidence could directly act as a direct counterpose to the three poisons of attachment, ignorance, and aggression or hatred. And of course, in Tantra, Tantra contains very specific antidotes for these, but this is also in this more kind of Mahayana Bodhisattva context. There's also this whole range of prides, not all of which need to be the afflicted one.
also. Tatine shibishidun but sisho 47. Tamburu jowa tanene, zamam yana mizamcha. Mazampa cho yinji, zamnen dobur was 47, please.
First of all, I should examine well what is to be done, to see whether I can pursue it or cannot undertake it. If I am unable, it is best to leave it. But once I have started, I must not withdraw.
Last one. So, can you hear the Kelsey talking? Okay. Okay. This the verse, I think we need to put it on our wall, and that it's such a good reminder, because whether you accept it or not, most of us, 99.9% of all of us like this. There on the first so why all of the following, that we do lots of planning and we cannot accomplish anything, and then without accomplishing we start on another plan, and then that one also not accomplished. So we have so many unaccomplished or unfinished plans. So we do have that. So the to answer to that, the first verse, that one, in English, how did it say?
First of all, I should examine well what is to be done.
Examine well before. So that means the before, when you're doing it, we haven't examined well. So now this I call, we can say, the freedom, our right. So Shantideva is giving us our right. So normally if somebody gives you a teaching, said you have to do it, then you don't feel there's a right for your right, own right. It's more like somebody is commenting you to do it. But here, Shantideva tells us that also we can add this to bodhicittas, the aspirational bodhicitta, and then engaging bodhicitta. So this is a very going through a logic and a very healthy approach. So the first one, aspirational bodhicitta. In order to get engaged into it, first you need to have the answer. So what kind of answer is that? You have to get inspired. That not kind of inspire mean like for a few seconds, for a few minutes, while you're listening to it, oh, you feel like so good. And then once you finish with the teaching from His Holiness or your guru or your teacher, and you go away from the shrine room, and then it's finished, still that aspirational motivation or the confidence is not enough. So therefore, we have to examine very well. It is not first, for as a beginner, it's not necessary to engage in everything. most people, what we do is we try to engage into everything. We go very fast, taking everything. And then once you have so many things and then you cannot do it, then you feel like then the question will be, why I have done that? That sounds a little bit stupid. So before, if you are not ready, you have to watch from far away and then listen it from far away, thinking like, does this really help me to get me into this purpose, what I'm looking for? Without knowing the answer to this, and then somebody says that it's really good, you should take it, and then you follow your friend, and then your friend says, oh, he is such a great teacher or Lama Rinpoche, and then you just go there and take it. So then once it comes down to the practice, it's not simple. And then plus you have so many things to do, and then you slowly you feel like kind of like you might say devotion or close to the Lama is still there, but you are not doing or not, you are not getting in the what Lama has given to you. And because you cannot put it in order, you cannot get this kind of aspirational feeling. Well, then you stayed with your guru for the rest of your lives, and every day you listen to his teaching, and that's not going to help because you are not really getting this thing that what you are necessarily, you don't think this is necessary and you really need it. So that's why Shantideva is saying, first you have to examine well. So then also in our class, right after when dedication prayer, we have this Jitara Tebetun Rinpoche. There are 4 reasons, depending.
Should examine where was the 4 reasons.
Oh, I should examine with the 4 reasonings. All these 4 reasonings, that is to look for whether I am getting this aspirational feeling or not. That's called well examined. So the Shantideva is saying, so then whether I should do it or not, to be honest, you don't need to go and ask each and everybody. And sometimes it is a little bit stupid. I tell you a very good example. These days, most people go to the restaurant looking, reading the reviews. And then in the reviews, you can get sometimes 50-50. And of course, that maybe some customers got very good food. Some customers didn't get a good service. So many things are there and very difficult to choose now. And then you are like, okay, maybe there is like a 75% they said it's very good, so I should follow them. This is not how we should follow our Dharma. So then you don't need to ask anybody. Here it is like Shantideva said, before how do you say it? Samba said,
Engaging or starting.
Engage,
starting,
oh yeah, this is
starting.
start or engage in this practice or not. First, you have to examine well. So the examine well means like I offer an advice to Farina and Venerable Jogala and Chambala, like in purging, they are soon going to study purging. So purging is Abhisamaya Lankara. In there, it is a very vast way, so vast. So before going into this vast subject, it is necessary to read the Lamrim. And in the Lamrim, you have to know what kind of the main topics that in the purging, in the Abhisamaya Alankara, all this, what it comes in the Lamrim. Then once you study, you have this kind of idea. Then you look or read or listen or debate on purging. Then you will automatically know have some idea that while this debating, this will help you to understand in the Lamrim. So Lamrim is specially designed for direct practice. Actually, the all purging and everything is for practice, but it's difficult to put it into there. So Lamrim is something like it already there. So how to add this? So you really need to know. So this is similarly what Shantideva is saying. Okay, maybe Tia need to translate or no, it's done. Raphael, finish? Okay, got it. That's saved more time sometimes. Oh, Dilisha, Chesangata, Zamam the Zamam Yana Mizamcha, Mazambani Choi, Zamnan Dogo Michau, Sta. Anje Goji Mozu on La Taja Yakushu, Previous study, go general and Rochodba, Jion. Ani Zambada Mazam Nigi Naroni, Ke Karado, Chong Karado, Kepsanda Chong said, so solely Kepsanda Chong. Rangi mi digi, dilla Kepsan Yugudu, dilla tena, digal Chonga say, mi nugu nugumento, tache, any pingudu, ne chetuzare, Machen Tamindu say, Simshu Chijun Tani, and it Zambores. Da Kedet Susu Simshudan. 아니 비게기 지금 중립 송샤교들이 딱딱하지 않은 그렇사말이 삼성주나 그 멤버 먼저 멤버 셈기 세븐은 신지 멤버 면시 대마도 지금 그 유유요 말이스 이 섭섭시다 중도가 다디 아니 맞으면 초인기 또 맞으면 돼야 되겠지 모르겠어 제 도구면도나 소소 아니 제도는 돼야 쉬겠어 이제 잠배이나 뭐지 쫓아배이나 아니 도구를 미차고 세도 잠배 다 델레 아니 또 신도 유유요 말이스 가르쳐야 세배는 걔들 줄배이나 아니 디워드를 네바드 손치 십주시 제버드나 어디 중에 두는다.
So looking at the lines, the second, third, and fourth lines of verse 47, where it reads, "To see whether I can pursue it or cannot undertake it. If I am unable, is best to leave it. But once I have started, I must not withdraw." I think you should say, not withdraw. So this is all prior to us initially starting up, engaging in a particular project, whatever it is. There needs to be this form of analysis. We need to check whether our potential or not. So, and this is kind of normal, general situation. How we are, what we're looking for are the advantages or disadvantages of in starting this particular activity. And this very specifically, in relation to ourselves, in relation to what is our goal or our aim in starting this new phase or project. And so that has to be, there has to be a sort of analysis of that as to whether we would be able to start it and to be able to continue. Would we sort of look to see within inside of us whether we have the ability or confidence on beginning a particular project or activity that we could be able to finish it or not. And this confidence comes from looking inside of ourselves, and also according to various other sources and our own kind of ability and confidence to see whether we feel that we on beginning and engaging with a particular thing, are we able to bring it to an end, to complete it. And if we feel that may not be that it may not be possible for us to complete our aim, then we would remain with the kind of aspiration to do it, but not actually engage in it. So line 3 of the verse says, line 3 of the verse says, sorry, I have it here. Sorry. Here, verse 3 of the verse says, if I am unable, it's best to leave. So if we're able, of course, and able to complete, to begin it and to bring it to a conclusion, to complete it, then it's best. That's of course the best situation. But if we, on analysis, we see that we don't have the confidence to feel that we can complete it, then it's better. Of course, it's better to leave it and not to start. Better than starting something and then giving it up. And so there's this sense of bringing things to a close and not being carried away or swayed by other kind of thoughts and minds, which then prevent us from completing that action, that sort of project or action or activity. And then in verse 48, it now explains to us the faults of beginning something but not completing it and discarding it or withdrawing from it.
Okay. Dine ta tamne dogo me shawo kete dobar chebina ta gyon kadi yorsina ani tamne torba doba seda jiburba ta tamne torba ina ani kewa shendo te komshings digdan dungi pewarju shenda dibu tujini menjuru tenyang ru menjuru se 48.
If I do, then this habit will continue in other lives, and wrongdoing and misery will increase. Also, other actions done at the time of its fruition will be weak and will not be accomplished.
다도 스타디 gyön asan rabu jigun zinang yu tuwa. Da gewa shendo te komshing sidu zambe danda cheba ju tun seti. Ukor jawa naru la di yungu tuwa.
Kari tipten chugi dropping be.
Di kurana tu, jenda
Leo.
gesa budana tu. Cheba ju tun seti. Jezanga da gewa shendo te komshing sidu da nyala ya razu gewa nyala dikono mandro ne ranzo 그 미진나로리아 지금 디기 꽤 가르도스라나 이 워신베 지교 그거는 군둥 송주 당부도 벌로 저가블이야 sem나로 초시기기 있어 되네 줄라간 군둥이 니마 송주 뭐 나고요 봐 아저네 마음 로지 그것도 시제 되게 그 니마 초디 게메버가리아 한지게 군둥이 송디 sem라에 깁시다 매 팬디니 아니 되네 군들리 지금 통당대 녀만나 심해디 지금 두스 그런 심된 시다 중수사 아 등을 니코랑 자치 물어봐 제장가 고랑 아니 급지를 숨줄 만들어체 냠식체 있어 고랑 따지지 통부 대발이야 지금 숨줄 녀만도 준비되는 바튼 가르 숨부이네 다 디리샤 스토거든 니가 숨바도 마편한테 패진 고랑 다 최원도 던데 군중의 제주 지에서야 되는 마체체 아니 고도 시제 가르서래 암주 직난도 되네 땅지 디나로는 진로만 손을 줘야 돼 심규 뒤에들이 디 뒤에게 저도 찌가 탑시 마체베 인자 디그 심 접도 차샤스 디밍이야 남기는 최대 쇼스 그래 최대 최대 그래 다디 인도 선배 가서 탭도 차세 드래 탭도 차세 탭도 세 드래 다 탭도 세도 선배 다 드래 인식계를 가르려고 그래 저한서
챕터 네. Oh, the capital. Become you can't say discouraged, demonic. He became disenchanted with or something. In this case, I think it means like that.
다제 마체 말해 저기도 가르스나 배나 디르와 가서 그래 좀 맞으네다 랑쇼르스 그렇지 랑쇼르스 저는 답에 인샤샤 제조 봐 이 배나 파마 손으로지 차샤나 부주협이나 아마 되게 전부시고 재원도 되면 거로지는 전부 가지고 제바도 순수 하모고 시 안디 거로지는 코디차르지 그래서 그래 디 아주베 디유바 가서 그래 인지 측지여 될 가서 답 제로지 그래 딩남주 가서 그래 돼야 advantage taking advantage 제도 말해 인지 측리야 디 가르다 답이 제스
take for granted, Ruba.
Take for granted. 들이다. 제가 take for granted 해야 되단 누구 유지레팅 봐. 가진 take for granted 차원도 잠배 아니 디두 파종옥이 제와테샤베 있네래. 너르지제베 있네. 디수그 너르당 디수라 파종옥래야 90 라도. 너르라는 되고요래. 이제 너르팅기 심기 자와당 아니 지금 통다 되줄라도도 디나싱은 최대한 for granted 내데는 오군디는 좋은데 된지치레 원드레제 세데나 된지긴 군딩 송셔도디 투자와 첨부 될 때니 아니 최대 충분히 최될 때니 이 심기 뒤에 도스 펜션스에 참아라서 제정로 페이지에 탭도 차세야 돼. 100% granted 되게 매로 미신 다 간제 인지 측이야 샴바요나 오다디 디안행가 첨부래 다디 가리게 로도 수디 단다 깨와 현도 듣게 시하고 말에 깨와 다가랑 레이네야 아주 심 프로도에 지도가 어디직도다냐
So in the first line of this verse, what it says to us is it says in other lives, in future lives, it will become, if we become familiar, cultivate this, then in future lives there'll be such and such problems. But because what's happening here is that it's being withdrawing from withdrawing or giving up on activities which we began but weren't able to bring to conclusion and we gave up on this is describing the faults of that. But in the first line of verse 48, it says, first of all, I should if I do, then this habit will continue in other lives. But again, the faults of withdrawing from or giving up on activities which we started are described in this verse through a series of 5 particular faults to that kind of behavior. But it's important for us always to not get stuck on the sense of later lives, but to just bring this down to our life at the moment. What would be one of the faults? And for instance, the first fault here is talking about how there's a kind of concordant, from that concordant cause of giving up on activities halfway through, then also we become familiar with that, and in the future there will be negativity will accrue from that. But so if we look to a specific example in this life, I can give you a sort of history of one of my friends who, when he first came to receive His Holiness's teachings, had a very strong feeling of seeing His Holiness in those initial teachings, a very strong feeling and kind of inspiration, and had that very kind of strong inspirational feeling. But then he continued, or that they continued to come to the teachings, and many received many teachings, and slowly that inspirational feeling that had at the beginning slowly started to weaken, to dilute, and and one of the problems that with this was that he was very much just and then his interest in His Holiness and the teachings became greatly weakened, and His Holiness is a great person, but he was coming to the teachings in the wrong way, because the way he was engaging with the teachings was just to feel that His Holiness is this great person, and he says this is the way His Holiness said it like this, so it must be like that. That's how it is. His Holiness said it like that, so that's how it is, without doing what His Holiness advises us to do, which is to firstly to kind of analyze and check in accord with the Dharma. So he was just sort of accepting everything as it came, and then so eventually he just lost this interest in feeling and became kind of very dismayed and into let me say thought. It means like someone who's sort of, in this sense, I think you can say it means like someone who's lost their way, or lost, I think we could say it like that, lost the path, that the belief and faith in the path and the teacher in this case got diluted, and so and so he became kind of dismayed or disillusioned with everything, and stopped coming to the teachings. So this, and also perhaps another way to think of this in terms of is if we take the example of parents who are very loving to their children, very kind and very generous, and would give to their children love and everything that they needed, generous in giving everything they needed to the children, but there could be some children who don't understand the kindness and generosity that their parents have given to them, and take their parents' love and generosity and their parents themselves for granted, and not understand and this probably comes out of some kind of lack of respect for the way in which from the people it came from, and the way in which these things were given to them. And so this is also something that we can relate to Dharma practice, in the sense of His Holiness is not teaching us to just accept things as they're spoken of by people like himself and the teachings, but he's saying that through his great compassion, he's saying that what you have to do is look at, take the teachings and sort of implement them into your own life, and then realize the benefit of the teachings in your own life. And that's the way in which you see the benefit of the Dharma, not just accepting an authority figure such as His Holiness, who has said it like this, so therefore it must be like that. Not that way, but implementing them in our lives and seeing the benefit of them. So this we can see is how to connect it to our lives right now, not to go far away thinking about other future lives.
So now we have to think very carefully when we say, if somebody is taking this as for granted, then automatically, what is wrong with that kind of idea is it gives us such a strong negative thing, which is you can get the thing what you want, but you will not see the motivation and then the love, compassion, all these beautiful things behind this. It will lose the connection. So that is the danger of that. Similarly, when going to His Holiness teaching, or in general, whoever gives teaching and you are there, if you are serious, if you are not serious, then it's okay. But if you want to be very serious, that means the serious means you are not going to take this for granted. Like, oh, he will talk about this, I will listen to it, then I don't need to do anything. What that really makes us is we will never bring the teachings and the advice into our day-to-day life, because our way of looking into teaching is, it is just like you are going into like a Disneyland, and you are, wow, he said such a wonderful, it's so good, oh, such a wonderful feeling. Then you come out of Disneyland, then it's gone, and plus maybe 100 euro or $100 is finished, and your time is finished also. But then you are just left with, oh, such a wonderful memory. Memory is good, but it is not going to give any kind of inspiration to move forward, move on. So similarly, in the teaching, we always do that. So my friend, we mostly talk about this. So his advice to me has been very helpful. I have the same problem also. So then I felt like, oh, my problem also similar. So this is necessary to recognize. So also now here on the 48, Kyewa Shendu Te Komshin, Kyewa Shendu Te Komshin, Kyewa Dimatse, Kyewa Shendu Yang, and Komshi Dile, Kyewa Shendu Yang, and Kelenche, and Kelenche Vanashenche, Gojitam, and Shuki Maris. That di Komshi di Chidane Chige Kasore Gewa Ming Digbaji in the Digdua. As a Digbaline ko Gojuto Yanka Machine or the Digdu. That di Nibadi. Dinde Chevina, Carriersna, Digba Charubas. Digba said the Carresna Gewa Chabati, Gewa Chabata, Jesu Rantan, Gewa Chabati, Gojutu, Shumakevina, Kurangshing Digba Chagris. Digba Kadis Chag, that is some call. Just Digba said the Carre. I don't know, Digba Dishi Carre. Mingo said the Kadis logo. That is someone wrong. 간지 디 바란주기 당하라주 넘비 디고 그듯이 되고 싶고도 그래서 디고 상면 디고라고 그러봐 디고를 시기요 사지고라 야 디고를 시 재미에 왜 저런서 디고를 시 잡다 걸라 배나 당에 빼지샤 배낭을 캐넨지 체 양답의 캐넨다 캐넨다 가서 박았으면 붙여 아니 배지그 답변은 단위송의 소지기면서 소지기면서 캐넨 근데 캐넨제 아니 소지 쇼베나 디고차 아니 하바도 양 꿀웅당 다 지금 뭐지를 다 고민게 차가 요를 때다 소원 가와도 다 예부 차 치셔들이 다 소원 가와디 디고 가르친 차그랬어 디로다 디고로 봐. 다 디고 가르친 일이었어. 다 저도 그 두고지고 그러고. 디고 신이데 다 배나 디고 세디 더셰직 디어 지워세 줘. 지워스 지고 잡고 heavy.
지바.
오케이. 다 지고 잡으랬어 have to pay
heavy price.
heavy price.
Heavy price.
티레다. heavy price 디어레스 원다. 또 세상에 heavy price 간대 차순. 디케는 삼당다. 디인지문 삼다. 딕세트치라. 다 되네. 아니 동해 패버를 주로 세트. 수버디 차비스리. 디버 요마세 디버 요마세 동해야 패. 그전스나 디버 양 필기요레. 디버 디페 원도 선배 동해 양 필. 다 대조 상으로 next thing 저 이거 디스커스 치기. 되네 디고 패버 주버디 나밍 주버니 송으로 반남이요. 다 현당 시도 전에 아니 배나 계획이 차와 배나 란주기 particular 단다 지기 소지기면서게 캐네디가 딱다지 데마톱나 디기 디치고 데마톱 디기 냐바 데sam시 말이 캐네 샴바지 제나양 캐네 샴바 간데지 제비나 계획이 캐네 간데지 제비나야 디양 아니 현당 debut tujanne sidu tadusine ditisre diang ane tamja diang tamja chebana shinshiji ya kelen tu maris kelen dagda chetdu ko yukjong tu maris
Kelen shen senbe. Kelen shen.
kelen shabaji nem chebina yang kalen ngamadi chebana shinji ko dagda ji ma chungdu shabadi yang ko dribu member chagres dibu member the what the word men men ta tin ani dibu de yang dibu de tusu mo member che dibu yang tusu mo member da ani dibu de yang dibu ma je cha kris ta karso 그래 깔래 잡니 dibu member da dibu member cha kris
제부.
dibu member 치다 아니 양은 dibu member 치 깔래 잡니 dibu 좀 member 치 어디 차 그랬어 다디 그 예방하듯 수치죠 송도가 또 예방하듯 타 공부를 좀 와체 예발도 아주 깨워 침맞다 깨워 아마스니 등을 지 연하면은 섬에게 아니 더버더 지가 돼요 아주 망치야지 그봐 디 뉴스에 단대 빼셔지 참말로 체 다가랑 갈도 지 캐투베이나 아니 디디지 이나다 패진 깨워 shum마다 파쳐버려서 섬로 깨워 shum마 신이 주요나 용용버려서 다 쳐루 지상 디조단 단다 체 디기 빼셔셔줘디 체 다가나나로 야 아니 수수기 고치 잠지 shum마 쳐버 딜 버루들이야 근데 지지 디부 member set member 요야 지부 돼야 돼 야고 되고 이럴 때 지부 가서 교부치 냠 다가지 마도 마요야 안대야 참참 지부고로 미에메 무슨 차로야지 요래 있을 때딱 켈레먼나 시지 제 딱까지 마 제비나 교인도 정말 용도 용문도 아디 지난주 공부치다
And so in relation to the 50th verse here, sorry, the 48th verse here, where so the first line says, if I do, then this habit of this starting activities but not bringing them to completion, if I do this, then this habit will increase in other lives. That's like almost like the first fault is explained through 5 faults. The second one being and the second line reads, and evil and misery will increase, which could be considered like the second and third faults. So here, when we're talking about so we're talking about here about how if we begin say virtuous activities but we don't continue them and give up some way through them, then this, if we do this in this life, then this habit will increase into the next life, is how the first line explains it. And then so sort of it's about, this is about taking making promises or accepting to do something or making a promise which we then don't complete. And but then it talks about how this will increase in the second line, evil and misery will increase. So particularly in the relation to the word that is translated here as evil, or something like kind of degraded negative action, something like this, these will increase. So why would it be that, so what it's sort of also one thing to talk about is, what does this word mean? What does dikpa in Tibetan mean? I think that to some extent this word also has a kind of sense of heaviness or weightiness about it, a kind of weighty burden or something heavy. So this could sort of this is a sort of way that we might explain what it means. But why does it? Why would the starting projects and not completing them? Why would it cause us to? Why would it cause these kind of degraded negativity or suffering to increase? And how does that happen? So taking a promise, accepting to do something, and then not completing and not finishing, not going accord with that promise and completing it, is also sort of related to it's also kind of connected with the motivation in which we engage in these things. So Gonda, that is true, the kase niba degi, dikpa degi, dikpa degi power gear segidua. That power gear tandegi this true minduna di karina. Dikpa power gear.
Dikpa power gear.
Yeah. Gonda, that is true.
Dikpa power gear said the already discord ba.
Oh, Gonda, that is.
Dungye power gear skrive.
Nikare peche the
dikpa power ina dungye power gear.
dikpa pelda.
Dikpa power 세상에 디고 페바디 가르레스나 고 민교와 가져 숙체를 로베는 디고 페바 봐.
예.
민교와 디고 봐.
네. I checked D and lost you into sorry, I'd written something but I can't read it. So is this the kind of sense of how to say that it's so there also this promising to do something and not completing on it is considered, why is it considered a kind of negative action, and why is it considered a negative action, and why does that then increase in this life and future lives, further kind of negative degraded action and degrading action, and also for suffering. So that's the thing to know. So for suffering, it's easier to see in the sense that if we are the further evil or degrading actions, if they increase, then the suffering as the ripening result of that will be suffering. And what it means is that for people who begin things but don't finish them, then the promises are diluted. The result of that is that the degraded result of that is that our promises are become weakened. So you have these two, the increase in degraded negativity and suffering, and then the fourth one is that at the as it reads in the third line, and also other actions done at the time of its fruition will be weak and not accomplished. So you have these two at the time when those negativities and suffering ripen. Then also the other actions, so other promises or other accepting to do other things or other promises, they are then at the time of the initial result, they will then also become either weakened or unaccomplished, or there will be no fruition or no result at all. So what it means to say is will not be accomplished means that there'll be no result at all. Either the result will be weak in its nature, or it'll be, it'll not happen at all. And again, so looking in the text, it's sort of referring to future lives and the results in future lives, but we should not go too far away again, because for most of us, actually, if we're very honest, we still remain a little bit unclear or confused around the existence or not of previous lives and future lives, so we should connect this to this life, and to see if this is relevant and true within our own lives. That if we start something and give up on it halfway through, what are the results like? Are the results, do we get perfect results, or do we get imperfect results? Do we find that sometimes there isn't any result at all? So looking at is there more suffering and further continued kind of negativity as a result of these things? So these are the faults which are described in the text, but we should check within our own lives to see whether negativity, suffering are increased, and whether the results are complete and perfect if we start things but don't complete them, and also are there no results, sometimes no results at all. This is something for us to look very carefully into in our own lives.
Okay. That in Angolia, Digbasia, the children are down Nami Yidu and Miwon Jimba. Nami Yidu Miwomba. Yidu Miwon, said to Zambe, Hagora, Yidu one, the Yidu Miwon. Oh, Nidu Miwon Jimba says to her. Dele Guyushato, Pena Sama Dambina. Did Shabina? Yidu Miwon, Jidani Yidu Gijman, Maship Chair. Yidu Miwon, around so good. 돼야지 이도 원 되고 요래 인디지 제베는 이도 명원 파도 그랬어요. 띵아 저기 셔토고도 이도 명원 세티 다 이도 명원도 그 자치 뭐 쉬어 봐. 그나 수지도 명원 이도 명원 아니 다 이도 명원 망고치 고요 봐. 대장 단다 이도 명원 삼로 쪼어디 수다도 좀 members. 삼로 당 줘대. 단데 내가 드리지 제베나 삼로 딘데 땅땅 드리지 땅 되베나 아니 코싱기 균도 좀 dro고 되제베 말기 셈 이도 명원 디나 신체 셈 이도 명원 디 드불 판 dro고 왔지. 아디 중베나 아니 아주 저거 먹고 질 랭잡도 아니 딜 디바 스치지 랍투도에 가전스나 그 이도 미원와 세디 깔레카 아주 지워디 지고 차도 수직 되냐 요만데 디 지고 차고 시작을 다스 디 가서 그래 depth depth사 가서디 오늘 데 마소네 아니
거기
전부치 subjectives
아래래
좋아.
건다 아래
오늘은 하고 그래
거기
depth사 배샤 야려야 돼
oh death death
Okay.
death
계산은 depth 전부치 야야베나 딜이야 아니 배샤만 우리 수인의 전인 주고 말아 원든나 신시지 디고스니 딜이 차로스를 당부 수인의 credit card 단위 주고 봐 수인의 탈라네 이나요 고 보련 전부치 depth 전부치 사용도 전에 오 다디 이게 삽도서 말에 다디 간이 전부치 테스트를 세대 전에 이도 명한 기도와 원든나 신시지 디버스에 초와데 디지털 보고요 어떤 드링 아주 네가 시작인다. 네 결혼 중에 리서치 지긴 진행하고요.
So in relation to these sort of these kind of evil actions or degraded kind of negative actions which degrade us, there's what we're one very important point to look at is the ripening. What do they give to us? That they give to they give to us the ripening result of what is unpleasant to us, unwanted and unpleasant to us, and within that statement that the ripening result of these degraded actions is unpleasant experiences, that they give us unpleasant experiences. There's a great meaning involved in that, encased in that. So when we talk about unpleasant, let's not talk about it sort of more in the general sense. So we wish for that which is pleasant. We're always hoping or wishing for things which are pleasant for us. But what happens is through these degraded actions, this is carried over into experiences which we don't want, which are unpleasant. So let's not think sort of in terms of just things like unpleasant or unattractive form, or things like our enemies, these kind of more external things, but think about it in terms of our minds, that the things that we, in terms of the way that it works mentally, in the sense that we wish for comfortable or pleasant experiences, and due to these degraded actions, we end up with the ripening result of unpleasant and unwanted, uncomfortable experiences. And this is very wishing for things that we want and then receiving unpleasant consequences can answer a lot of questions for us. So if we think of, if we take that etymology of degraded kind of actions, degrading actions, such as it has a weight, or a kind of heaviness or a weight to it, like a burden, and if we think of that in terms of a financial situation where we take on a loan, take on a great debt or a great loan, maybe a great debt or a great loan that we can't repay, then if we imagine that situation, if people were to be, to say, if you take on this loan, you'll have to repay this certain amount, and they understand that it's very difficult to repay and understand the weight or the heaviness or the burden of taking on that loan or debt, then they would necessarily not be so interested in taking the loan. So if we think about these evil, degrading kind of actions in that way, that they bring, the ripening result will bring us a great or heavy, negative, unpleasant debt, then this will help us in avoiding them. So this is something that we need to examine, these feelings and situations ourselves and research them. That's something that we need to continually do, to research these things.
Dedication.
Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard that night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment settle all doubts. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain a state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay, appreciate. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rinpoche.